Let's talk about Darvin Ham and this quote that came out after a game. I forget what game it was after, um, but obviously the Lakers lost this game. They're 2-10 currently the day I'm recording this, and this quote from Darvin Ham is very interesting. So I'm gonna share my screen, and we are going to check this out because I want to talk about this. This is a little bit interesting. Here we go.
Big picture and be positive and view things that way. But you've got LeBron is in year 20. AD has missed functionally 2 seasons. How do you keep their patience? I don't know if that's even the right word, but their mindset not in the disappointment and the frustration of 2-8 and kind of along for the build with you.
I mean, you have to put all cards on the table. We can't act like something is happening and that isn't real. You know what I'm saying? And with that, I mean, like from the way our salary is constructed, our salary cap and our budget, all the way to, injuries, guys being available, playing style, new coaching staff, and guys having to buy in to how we're playing and what we're doing. So all of that is real. And guys having to step up and play better. Some of our younger guys, some guys who don't have as much experience in the league that are in our rotation, they have to step up, have that confidence, and play better. And those are just the real facets of our game. We can't go out. We're in the tax. We're a tax offender, right? We just can't go out and start spending money everywhere to build a team. We have 3 big-time future Hall of Fame, first ballot future Hall of Famers that a chunk of our budget is being spent on, and there's only so much left. So we have to do our due diligence and go out and again, establish the way we want to play, which I thought we've been doing. We've regressed a little bit defensively. Our offense have come around here of late, and just keep fighting a good fight, pushing forward.
So there's Darvin Ham. Um, yeah, so a couple different things. I think a lot of people saw this as a way of the front office using Darvin Ham as a little bit of a puppet to kind of explain what's going on within their franchise. Darvin Ham had said that they are repeat tax offenders. Now, I personally did not do my own research on this, but I did see that that is actually not true at all. Um, but again, I don't know if it actually is true or not. I honestly don't really care because I think that, they do make a good point. A lot of their money is spent on their star players and AD, LeBron, and Westbrook, right? So it's hard for them to really do any sort of trades because everyone else on the roster has a very small salary. So you could obviously trade them, but because they're such a small salary, you can't get anything, big in return unless you trade one of your star players. That's why Westbrook is always in these trade conversations because LeBron and AD aren't going to get traded. So who else is going to be? It's going to be Westbrook, right? So that was something that was really interesting. Um, but it just kind of brings me back to when the Lakers, they very recently, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month at this point, they gave Rob Pelinka an extension. And to me, it just didn't make any sense at all because I haven't think Rob Pelinka has honestly done a great job at constructing this Lakers roster. Obviously, you can look back at what they did for the 2020 roster, but pretty much everything before that and everything after has been absolutely awful. And that he just, in my opinion, has done a pretty bad job. And I don't think he's very deserving of that extension. And the main reason why I say this, shout out to Laker Central on Twitter. I want to share my screen one more time, and I'll read it off for you guys just listening. Um, but these are all the moves that Rob Pelinka has done outside of winning the championship, and this puts everything in perspective. So in 2018, the Lakers waived Thomas Bryant, who became a productive starter after the Wizards claimed him off waivers. If a young, talented big who can shoot the ball doesn't fit your plans, why not trade him? And that's a great point here by Lakers Central, right? Like they've had so many players on their roster, you can even look back at Zubac. Zubac was on the Lakers roster, and they virtually, I forget exactly what happened, but I mean, they didn't get anything in return for him of at least equal value or of relevance. So to me, it's like if you have someone who has that sort of skill set, you can trade him for assets. Why don't you just trade him? And this becomes a recurring theme of just letting people go without really getting anything back. Because in the same year, they let Julius Randle, his qualifying offer, they let him just walk as an unrestricted free agent, and Randle was the number 7 pick. So, even if you thought at the time that Randle was not going towards his expectations of being that number 7 pick, you would at least in two situations, one, you would want to try to do maybe a sign and trade, or you would at least match an offer and you can trade him later, right? But no, they just let him walk and they got him for virtually nothing. Now, I'm not saying that, they could trade him for a start player, but like you're trying to tell me you can't at least trade him for like one first round pick. Obviously, when we look where we are right now, the Lakers would really love to have that first round pick, but because again, they let Thomas Bryant just leave and Julius Randle leave, they didn't get anything in return. We go to the next year. They traded Svi and a second round pick to the Pistons for Reggie Bullock, who left as a free agent after the season. And Lakers Central does point out here that those are very small assets. But again, that's it was virtually for a rent for not even a full season. And even that trade was made so that the Lakers could make some sort of playoff run. And they didn't even end up making the playoffs anyway. So what was the point of the trade, right? Why are we making these trades to make ourselves better if we still don't even make the playoffs? It's like, how much are we really moving the needle? Like, obviously, Reggie Bullock is a better defender than Svi, but Svi offers the spacing, right? So to me, that again, that's just another thing of it not making sense. And here we go. We got the Zubac thing. Thankfully, shout out to Lakers Central again. They traded Zubac and Michael Beasley to the Clippers for Mike Muscala, and Mike Muscala just left after that season, and they wasted another pick of Zubac and gave the Clippers a starter who haven't had anyone good at center. So it's just like, what are the Lakers doing at that point, right? And then obviously 2020 happens. They traded Danny Green and a first round pick to get Dennis Schroeder. So this is after the championship. So this is like the 2020-2021 season. So after they win the championship, they trade Danny Green and they get Dennis Schroeder, who left as a free agent after the season. And it was a significant step as LA broke apart its championship defensive identity and also threw away a first round pick. So this is an interesting sort of time for the Lakers because they wanted to get more, I guess, help for LeBron. They wanted to relieve him of some of the ball handling duties that honestly won them the championship. So, in my opinion, that just never made any sense. I get wanting to add more depth to the team, but you still needed to keep some of your identity, which was that defense, right? So, if you're trading away a defensive guy for a solid player at the time, or what was saw as a solid player, and a first round pick, and then when you have the opportunity later on to give him an extension or re-sign him, you just let him go. So to me, like, you can trade the first round pick, right? The first round pick, if you really want to trade it, that's fine. But if you're trading that first round pick for one asset and you're not even going to try to retain him to try to like keep things going and make it worthwhile, to me, that's a bad move. Again, Dennis Schroeder just leaves the season after. And if you look now, he's on the team again. So it's like, what was the point in just letting him go? Obviously, Lakers low-key kind of lucked out because Schroeder was asking for a lot of money, which is essentially why they didn't re-sign him. But I believe Schroeder, it got to a point where Schroeder was just he was taking minimum contracts because no one was giving him the money, right? So why couldn't the Lakers just do the same thing? I don't know. That's interesting to me. We'll move on though. In the same year, they also traded JaVale McGee and a second round pick to the Cavaliers for Alfonso McKinney and Jordan Bell. And Jordan Bell was waived immediately. I was literally just about to say that Jordan Bell would have been the best the best piece out of that, but they just waived him, and then made salary cap for them to bring in Marc Gasol, which, you know, in hindsight was like even in hindsight, that's not like a bad move. Marc Gasol was still very good. But JaVale McGee, in my opinion, was just better. And JaVale McGee just brought more of what the Lakers needed, which was a rim protector and a lob threat. Marc Gasol is a great rim protector, but he's very slow on his feet. And yeah, he could space out the floor, but they honestly, in my opinion, just needed more of a rim roller and more of a tenacious defender. Because I feel like even at that time, JaVale McGee was, maybe a little bit, or at the very least, like equal to like what Marc Gasol could do. So again, just a questionable move in it all as well. And then in 2021, they traded Kuzma, KCP, Montrezl Harrell, and a first-round pick for Russell Westbrook, and we've obviously seen where that's gotten us now. So outside of that 2020 year where they won the championship, what has Rob Pelinka truly done? Please, in the comments, please let me know, because those are all the moves that he's made, right? Ever since LeBron showed up in 2018, and Magic Johnson stepped down, and that's another thing too. I don't even think Rob Pelinka was the guy who got LeBron to get to LA. There's two ways I look at it. One, you can give credit to Magic Johnson, or two, you can just assume that LeBron was coming no matter who was running the team. And I honestly think that's probably the most realistic one. But again, like, sure, Rob Pelinka was there. Did he maybe have a part in it? Sure. But I think you can also believe that even if he wasn't there, it wouldn't matter, right? LeBron was still going to come to LA, and that was just the end of it. So if you want to give credit to Rob Pelinka getting LeBron, I guess that's fine. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, but this whole thing with the Lakers, and a lot of people believe Darvin Ham in that quote. Just to bring it all back, a lot of people think Darvin Ham was being like used as a puppet to speak for the front office without the front office, speaking on their own behalf. Do I think that? I'm not quite sure. I could definitely understand why people feel that way, but I think at the end of the day, like, whether he's saying it or not, it's the front office who got them in that position. So I hope that Darvin Ham doesn't get put into a scapegoat, and you can blame Westbrook as well. But I think at the end of the day, that's all goes back to the front office, and I personally just think they've made some pretty boo-boo trades and moves that just haven't quite made sense. And the moves have been so bad, and the Lakers are in such a bad shape right now, and even last year, that people are considering, was the AD trade even worth it? And I think that's a crazy conversation to have, and that's not to say that, I personally think the trade was worth it. You got a championship, that was the goal, right? I honestly, I don't know if people expected them to win more than one championship just because of LeBron aging so much. Obviously, he's still super great at his age, but I think people weren't betting on them winning like 3 championships, right? I feel like at most maybe 2. But again, like, you made the one championship. I personally think that the trade was worth it, but I think it's just bad that we're having this conversation about, was the trade worth it, because of all the bad moves they made after that trade. It's pretty much fallen downhill, and that's all I have to kind of say about that. Shout out to Darvin Ham. I really do hope that Darvin Ham doesn't get put into like as a scapegoat again, because he's virtually trying the things that Frank Vogel was doing last season and finding no success again. And I don't think that's his fault. I think it's just because the Lakers are not that talented of a team, despite having LeBron and AD. And and that's the front office putting them in that situation. That's not Darvin Ham's fault. He just got hired. He didn't make the team, right? So those are my thoughts on the quote from Darvin Ham. That was a clip from my podcast that you can watch by clicking here to see the whole episode. If you enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe. See you on the next one. Peace out.